Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Blewett. How is everybody doing this evening? Come on in, have a seat. Grab a plate of dinner or pop up with a good snack, y'all. Because guess what? It is Wednesday. Hello, everybody. The queen of pipe cleaners is here. That's what I'm going to start calling myself. I'm just going to call myself the queen of pipe cleaners. And you are going to need 16 pipe cleaners for tonight's project. Hello, Miss Tina and Sherry and Margaret and Mary. Hey, Shaw. I need to learn how to say that with the Louisiana accent. Shaw. I need you to say that to me again a few times, Mary, so I can say that correctly. Because when you say it with the Louisiana accent, it's got a different twang to it. I need that twang. Hello, Miss Tammy and Kathy. All right, my friends. Now, you can do this same project on a ring board. I ran out. I don't know how that happened. Y'all ever run out of boards before you blink? That's what happened to me. All right. And it happens, okay? For those of you that are new here, we're going to start from scratch. Okay, we don't assume that y'all know how to make a wreath. We're going to take this from and show y'all, but I'm going to flip my, this is the Unique in the Creek large board, and that's what we're going to use. Okay, now when I start my outside row, see we have one dot here. We want to go above the singular dot. And there's a reason for that. Okay, so we're going to load our outside row, and we're going to go every other set of holes. And we call those, these are shared holes. Okay. We're going to go every other. And as you can see, I kind of fold my pipe cleaners in half a bit to make it easier to load. All right, now we're going to go in one row, and we're going to use the shared holes again and jump over the single hole like a so. All right, and then the trick, okay, now we got to secure our pipe cleaners. And the trick to this is you just want to go real quick, flip your board over and flop it on your table, go whoop, and then your pipe cleaners stay in place. We don't have to worry about them moving or running off on us or sliding around. And then you just need to give them one twist. To secure them in place. Hump day! Like I said, you can use the ring board for this project. I ran out. Waveland, Mississippi. What is Wave? Like, I have never heard of Waveland, Mississippi. What is Waveland, Mississippi close to? Hello, all my friends. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jackie. I have been making wreaths for an extremely long time. Very long time, y'all. And you got to kind of pay attention because I will slide in some tips and tricks. And I'm from the South. I don't know if I've got Southern charm, but I have Southern sarcasm. Well, Lori, you'll just have to let me know when you're going. Kind of thing. Yep, I listed all the materials, y'all. All the materials that I'm going to use in this, I hope. Because y'all know me, I look to the left. The left is where my picks and sprays and stuff like that are. And to the right is where my ribbon is at. Okay. And y'all know me, I look to the left and the right while I'm designing, and I might find something else that's perfect, but I tried really hard to list everything that I'm going to use. Y'all know what I mean? I tried. All right. You know what I love about a sign like this? You can take it and turn it into any season that you want. You could even turn this into Christmas. I love a good neutral sign. Tina Kelly's probably happy. She's like, I'm glad she's finally remembering to list her products. I have figured out the math formula to make Tina Kelly happy. Just list my products. All right, my friends, we're going to cut 16 pieces of mesh, 20 inches. Now, you can do this with scissors, but if you're going to be a frequent of making wreaths, I don't recommend that. Because I will tell you this, repeatedly using scissors can cause carpal tunnel syndrome. So, that's why I use this. If you're just doing this as a hobby, you'll be okay with scissors. All right, you'll be fine. Okay, but for those of us that are serial wreath makers, we need tools. All right, so 20 inches, here we go. 16 pieces. Somebody's got to count for me because, you know, Jackie can't run her mouth and count at the same time. I lost count. How many pieces have I got? Who's counting for me? Somebody needs to be counting for me because I've lost count. Who's counting for me? At least I'm honest, y'all. I can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I can do a lot of things, but I can't count and talk. I don't know anybody. Can anybody really count and talk? Am I the only one that thinks like the most irritating thing in the whole world is if you're counting and somebody knows you're counting and see you're counting and they ask you a question anyway? How many pieces have I got, y'all? That should be it. Okay, I can always cut more. Mm-hmm. All right. So what I do real quick when I start, I'm gonna run around the board and I'm gonna open up my pipe cleaners to get them ready. And y'all, to prevent this from fraying, we're just trying to prevent it from fraying, okay? It just really doesn't need to be that much effort. We're just gonna roll it down one time, just one time, y'all, and then ruffle. If you have a difficult time making ruffles, I would encourage you to buy a mesh with a stripe in it, because it will help you ruffle right down the middle. When I first started out, that's what I bought. I bought a lot of stripe mesh so that I would ruffle right down the middle, okay? Because like with this farmhouse mesh, you would follow this stripe right here all the way down the center. All right. Lori, I'm getting there slowly but surely. Slowly but surely, I'm getting there. I noticed the other day, I think I'm about to buy new shoes. My gait since this last back surgery has changed. So, yep, gotta buy new shoes. We got anybody new here tonight? I like meeting new people. I like meeting new people and hanging out with old friends. Well, welcome, Miss D. Welcome. Notice I'm intentionally, watch, I am intentionally doing this. I'm not fluffing my ruffles up. Some people will fluff their ruffles up and I don't. And the reason I don't is so my ribbon will lay better. Notice when I lay my mesh down, I'm going to go directly on top of this other ruffle. And that's because what I'm doing is I'm creating basically a channel so that my ribbon will lay nicely. Excuse me, hold on a second. Excuse me. It's allergy season in Kentucky. For those of you that don't know, I'm from Kentucky. Gulf Shores, Alabama. I have never been to Gulf Shores, Alabama. I've been to New York. I have been to New York. Now this last piece of mesh, so that I will lift it up. And then I do that so everything is uniform, and I'll tuck it under. Okay. Well, Paris, Tennessee's a herp skipping a jump from me. Corpus Christi, Texas. I used to know somebody that lived in Corpus Christi, Texas. I personally have been to Texas a time or two. And I'm here to tell you that some of the places that I went to in Texas, your roads, okay, y'all need some good dental plans. I went way down to Texas to visit a friend one time, and I needed a good dental plan and an awesome sports bra. I'm just saying. All right, let me show y'all this for those of you that are new. Now, realistically, if you wanted to, okay, you can just lay an outside roll of mesh. The sign is big enough, okay? However, the way that I make wreaths, I don't want my sign laying on my ribbon. So that's why I'm going on the inner circle, is so that I'll have mesh to support my sign and keep it up and make it look like it's floating. Okay? Because from time to time, we all need a good support system. Well, Lori, that's like all states. Like there's constantly road and I've done a lot of traveling. There's constantly road construction going on in a lot of places. Okay. But I found the roads where I don't think they even care if they do road construction. Okay. I wish they had like different things that you could program into your GPS. I don't know yet. We'll find out in a minute. I can usually tell by kind of looking at because I've cut mesh so much, by looking at the roll. Well, let me tell you, so the last time I was in Louisiana, y'all, and I had a big F-250, Ford F-250 truck. And I was out with one of my friends, and I found a pothole that swallowed my truck. I mean, we went down into that pothole and we came launching out. And couldn't tell how deep it was because it had just rained. So I had no clue. I had no clue how deep that pothole was. You know, you could tell it was a pothole, but couldn't tell how deep it was because it had just rained. Well, Tina, that's no different than Illinois. Illinois is celebrating umpteen years of road construction. I've been going back and forth, same road, for 3 years now. The Craig Bachman, and they're still doing the same construction 3 years later. Well, Mary, I learned after that trip to Louisiana that just avoid the pothole. Just avoid the pothole. I couldn't imagine being in a car when I hit that pothole. Could not, well, it was like a crater. I couldn't imagine. It would have swallowed the car. Like, I would have had damage. Right now, my husband, he travels down the interstate to get to work. And we have the season of, well, we're thinking about it. They've got the signs up. That's it. We're thinking about it. It's like, warning, we're thinking about doing road construction. Just to let you know, we're thinking about it. I need one more piece of mesh, y'all. Do 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 do. Good evening. Somebody tell Liz if she doesn't have sound, go back and come back in. Well, I'll freely admit, like, most of the time I can count, but then I can't talk. The two are not going to. All right, my friends, we're going to cut our ribbon tails, and we're going to use the measure buddy to do that. And we're going to cut our ribbon tails 14 inches. Now, there is a reason I cut my ribbon tails 14 inches, okay? If, okay, you just want to do a ribbon wreath with the sign, okay, you only need to cut your ribbon 12 inches, okay? But since I am adding goodies to the wreath and I still want my ribbon to stand out, we're going to cut it 14 inches, okay? So that's the Y with that. And we're going to cut 8 of those. And hopefully I have better skills counting my ribbon than I did my mesh. Some reason I don't mind wasting a little mesh, but ribbon, that's a different story. I can't stand ribbon abuse. When using the measure buddy to cut your ribbon, make sure that all your print is facing the same way after you pull it off. And I did not count correctly. Tonight is not my night to count. But that's okay. I'm going to make sure that it does not go to waste. A little irritated that I can't count, but it ain't going to go to waste, folks. You shall see in a little bit. So 8 pieces of that ribbon. And then 8 pieces of the Swiss Dot. Everybody's so quiet. Why are y'all being so quiet? Y'all don't be quiet. This is a wreath making party. So let me tell y'all, for those of you that don't know me, I take my time making my wreath base, and the reason I take my time making my wreath base is for the same reason you would want your contractor to take his time building your house. Okay? If you want to know my saying, I will tell you my saying. You have to have a firm foundation to build a temple. Think about that for a minute. I don't think I told them that story, Lori. Oh, my poor daughter. Oh, an insult to injury, and I laughed in her face. I don't know if I told y'all this story. Y'all. But one weekend I was helping out a friend at their store. And my daughter went with me. And I left her at the store just for a minute so I had to go run an errand. Real quick. It's gonna be safe. I didn't realize of all the things that I needed to teach my daughter, it didn't occur to me that I needed to show her how to use a landline phone. Right? So I'm way across town and I get a phone call from my daughter. And she's like, Mom, you forgot to, like, how do you use a landline? She's like, how do you use a landline phone? And I mean, like, y'all, I immediately am laughing hysterically in my daughter's face. Hysterically. Because y'all know landline phones, especially the cordless ones, have a green button for go and a red button for stop. And I mean, I'm laughing hysterically in my daughter's face. Never in a million years did I think I would need to teach my child how to use a phone. And it wasn't just me laughing at her, because when she called, I put her on speakerphone. So I wasn't laughing at her alone. So some people, when they pair up their ribbon and they fold it in half, y'all, they crease it down here. Okay. And then they just kind of scrunch it up. I personally don't. But not everybody can do the technique that I do, which is simply line your ribbon up, fold it. I don't fold it all the way. Take my index finger, slide it in there, and then boop, there's my pinch. Ball it up, there's my pinch. Okay? I'm gonna tell you what, I laughed for hours. Hours. It just reminded me of some of the memes and stuff I'd seen on Facebook about kids using rotary phones and things like that. So that just added mileage to it for me, because it wasn't, it's like, it's, you know, my daughter's acting like it was a rotary phone. Like, I don't see how a cordless phone is much different than a cell phone. So, you know, because green, answer, red, hang up. Have I told y'all? I gotta tell y'all this. Like, our little dog, Lily, bless her heart, because she's done this twice now. And I can't believe that I'm having to do this, but we're going to have to. She gets at the top of our stairs and doesn't realize where she's at. And that dog will literally like spin in circles everywhere she goes. Everywhere she goes. Like, she can't stand still to save her life, and she spins in circles. And because of her spinning in circles, she has gone down the flight of our steps twice now. Let me tell you something. For going twice, that is a resilient dog. The first time my husband watched her go down the steps. Second time I watched her go down the steps, she just bounces up and shakes off. I'm like, I'm devastated. And she just bounces up like, I'm okay. So I can't believe this, but we're going to have to put a gate up at the top of the steps to prevent her from killing herself, apparently. This last time, it kind of wasn't her fault. My other dog, Chica, was standing next to her. And I was looking out the window at the top of my steps to see who was here. And then all of a sudden, Chica started barking, and it startled Lily, and there she went, right down the steps. Do 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 do. Let's make a bow, my friends. Okay, so sometimes I'll make the bow before I put the sign on. Sometimes I'll do it after. So let me tell you why. We're going to put the bow on after because of how low the print runs. So that way, okay, I place my sign so my bow's not covering it. And I have a tendency to like want to make some pretty big bows. And don't forget, in case you wondered, SKUs and stuff, all complete list of the materials is in the description on this tutorial. And we're going to make a big honking bow. Because I like big bows. And I cannot lie. You other wreathers can't deny. If you use a bow maker to make your bows, don't ever let anybody make you feel bad for it. Because I'm telling you what, it's not how you make the bow that matters, it's the end result. Keep that in mind, my friends. Yeah, I told you the tail's not going to go to waste. Why do you hate making bows? That's a strong word. Everybody's so quiet. Well, Laura, you will find out that everybody makes bows. They can fluff them till forever. There's people that will fluff their bows before they put them on the wreath. And I don't do that. I wait till I put it on the wreath to fluff it. Because otherwise I would probably fluff it 100 times. Do you use a bow maker to make your bows? Hello, my name is Jackie, and I will clean as I go because I don't like a dirty work area. And this is what we're going to do with that one ribbon tail, y'all. We're just going to throw it in there. Okay. Well, I don't typically recommend what bow maker you should use, and I will tell you why. Because your relationship with your bow maker is very personal. And I usually recommend to people, there are like thousands of tutorials on YouTube for different bow makers. And I tell people, go watch some till you find the one that just goes, oh, okay. And then get that bow maker. Because I have all of them. I have an abundance of bow makers, and they all serve a different purpose. Each one serves a different purpose in my arsenal. All right. So here is the part of bow making that usually trips people up. Okay? And that is getting their stack. We call this a stack when we're done. We call this a stack. And usually this is the part that trips people up because they don't get their stack tight enough. Because if you don't get your stack tight enough, your bow will not fluff properly. So I've already put my pipe cleaner on here. And the reason I put my pipe cleaner on here is so that my stack will stay aligned. All right, so I'm going to take and crisscross my pipe cleaner and pull it down a little bit on my stack to start to tighten it. Okay, and then I'm going to hold my pipe cleaner and then push my ribbon from the underneath to get it off my bow maker. Okay, now some people are unable to tighten this stack down because you can't leave it like this. If you leave it like this, your ribbon is going to go all over the place. It won't fluff properly. So what we're going to do, and this is where you'll slide in with a pipe cleaner or a zip tie. I said not everybody has the hand strength for the pipe cleaner, and that's okay. So we're just going to slide in right over the top of the pipe cleaner and use the zip tie to tighten our stack down. Okay? And that is perfectly acceptable, my friends. And then you still have the pipe cleaner to attach your bow to your wreath. But getting this stack cinched down is extremely important. Okay? Oh, look, Jackie's going to use 2 zip ties tonight. As soon as I find my other one. My other zip tie is going to be for my wreath hanger. And I put this in very close to the beginning so I don't lose track of top and bottom of my wreath, because I have done that before and I don't want to do that. Okay? Alright, so when I make a wreath, okay, you could accidentally make this wreath a square if you're not careful. Okay? So once you get past this point, we're going to put our bow on, and then placing of your elements is crucial, especially when you're using a square sign. When using the Unique and the Creek board, I use a darning needle, just a yarn needle, pretty big. And I'm going to use that to come up through the bottom of my wreath to get my bow. And we're going to go directly in the center with our bow tonight. Sometimes when you mention certain bow makers, I want to, but I'm like, I try to stay neutral. But there is really like a couple of bow makers, like I can't stand them. So there's that. So what I do, y'all, when I'm done, see how there's like a lot of pipe cleaner left? I'm going to take that and I'm just going to push it back up through the hole. And that way my board stays nice and clean on the back. And now I'm going to fluff my bow. Like I said, I fluff mine once it gets on the wreath. That way I'm not fluffing my bow 100 times. And also, it helps hold my bow down while I'm fluffing it. I know somebody that will keep a grapevine around just for fluffing their bows on. I like to pull a couple of my tails up to the top because that helps fill the bow out a little bit more at the top, so that my bow looks all nice and fluffy. And we don't really need that much tail down there anyway, because it just gets like, you're not going to be able to see all the tails. And then our sign. We're going to cut the jute rope off. And we're going to grab a staple gun. And I got to make sure, because my husband used my staple gun last. I got to make sure I got 1/4-inch staples in here. Okay. And I do. By the way, something else I've learned over the years. That way, if I have to change something out, it's easier to find. I use different color pipe cleaners for putting my sign on. That way, if I just need to change the sign out, I can find the correct set of pipe cleaners. We're going to put one pipe cleaner at the top and one at the bottom. And now we're going to nestle our sign in. And our whole goal is we really don't want the bow to cover up our words. So I'm probably going to trim this down or move it out of the way. But we're going to place our sign. Right, Tina? You know my husband now. Oh. Guess what I did? I was like, why does that look crooked? I put my wreath hanger in the wrong holes, y'all. And that is important. You can tell the holes that for the wreath hanger zip tie because they're dimpled in a little bit. Actually, Tina, you'll be so proud of him. He had my staple gun. He had wire clippers. He had my little miniature bolt cutters. And so, and some other stuff, and he brought it all back. By the way, from now until, within the Christmas season, y'all, this is what I do. I make everyday wreaths because people will buy them for Christmas presents. Okay. And then I mix that in with the seasonal wreaths. Because sometimes I just get tired of looking at Christmas. So making an everyday wreath is definitely a break from the monotony. Now, if I can get my daughter to remember to turn my hot glue gun down when she uses it. If I burn my fingers again, she will have her own hot glue gun. I don't know about y'all, but when I use my tools, I count on them being a certain way. And I don't double check things that often. The sign came from the ribbon shed. Now, everything past this point, y'all, I just kind of take my, goes pretty fast. Because we got some beaded grass here. And I push that up all the way to the end, and I'll show you why. Depending on how you're using your floral elements will depend on what you do with them. But see how far they are from, look how far that is from the tip. So this would make it like stick further out of my mesh wreath than what it needs to. So I'm going to push them up to the end. And then because I'm going to use hot glue, I'm going to cut about a ½ inch down on the stem. And that's so I can really spike it into my mesh. That's the other reason I make a thick mesh base, so I can use hot glue. And that way I can spike it into my mesh to secure it. Okay. The other grass that we're going to use is just a plain grass. And once again, we're going to do the same thing for the same reason. All right, and then for fun, now this was really cool, and I like about these dog bones. This could have went 2 directions because they got the stripes. Could either be every day, or as easy peasy, it can go to Christmas. But we're gonna do every day. I could have went either or. Got my hot glue gun, make sure it's on low. It's on low. Okay, so when you're using the hot glue gun, y'all, do this. You really need to get your ribbon tails exactly where you want them, because in case you touch that with hot glue, we don't want them to end up being stuck where you don't want them. Put some glue on the end, and I'm going to go right over the ribbon tail, and I'm going to really just spike this down into the mesh. Okay. And that's going to secure it. My wreath making was put on hold for a little bit. It happens. It took me a little bit more effort to get better from this back surgery than what I would have liked. And I'm still climbing an uphill battle, but I'll get there. I know I will because I'm a fighter. Some people tell me, they're like, why do you put the florals under your bow? Because it helps support the bow, and me and my OCD would know that it was naked, and I can't have that. You'll also notice that once you start to put your florals in, it will help hold your ribbon in place. So if you're having problems getting your ribbon to lay, once you start putting your florals in, it'll get your ribbon, hold it in place. And stop it from wandering. I'm telling you, I love a sign like this because with the black and white paw print, you can do so many color combinations. Like, there isn't any color that you can't put with the black and white. Except for navy. In my mind, y'all, that's one color I can't handle. I can't handle black and navy. I don't know why, y'all. I remember when black and navy was popular, and it just made me cringe. To me, it was like somebody stepped out of the house one day, and they couldn't tell... Their lighting was bad, and they couldn't tell the difference between black and navy. And somebody was like, "Oh, that's fabulous," and it took off. So, all right. So now to fill, we're going in between, and I'm going toward the center with my beaded grass. Everybody's just so quiet tonight. We're just all so quiet. It's Wednesday. Everybody's just trying to muster to the strength to make it Thursday, Friday for the weekend. They're just exhausted. You just got to make it 2 more days, my friends. 2 more days. Now, if you want to, you can stop there. You don't even have to put the dog bones in, but I like making it uber cute. Okay. And I could probably do flowers and whatnot. I just love loading a wreath down. Everybody around here calls it Jackifying. Okay? But we have to be careful because we don't want to make the wreath square. So, because I don't want to make the wreath square, I have to be careful not to hit the corners of the wreath. So you don't want to go, and I'll show you real quick, you don't want to go on the corner. On the corner. You don't want to do that. Because you will inadvertently make this look like a square. Inadvertently. So just kind of go down off the corner. Just a little bit. Okay? And then what I'm going to do to kind of make my balance is I'll come across from this one now. And once again, I'll make sure that I'm just off the corner a little bit. Like so. Okay. And then I'll kind of go just off the corner again. Like that's to avoid the wreath looking like a square. The wreath as a whole. The sign's a square, but we don't want the wreath to look like a square because it's supposed to be round. And then once everything cools, kind of twist everything, and then you have a super cute, look how cute that is, y'all. Isn't that cute? All right, my friends. That's going to be it for me tonight. But this weekend, because we are coming into the really height of decorating season, okay, I'm going to show you how to make a garland using the Unique in the Creek rectangle boards. And it's one of my favorite ways to make a garland. And it's been a while since I showed y'all how to make one, so that's what we're going to do. Okay? And that's what we're going to do this Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Until then, y'all have a great rest of the week. I will see y'all Saturday